she came back and brought something up that was not in a clip.
Oh,
the next time I saw her. So I'm like, oh, she actually watched it. But they were impressed that it was how quality it was.
Well, good.
They were like, holy shit. I was like, I mean.
She's like, I did my homework. Oh, shit. Being a bunch of white women specifically is hilarious and, like, on the nose.
Scary.
Yeah. Very scary.
Tell me about it. I grew up surrounded by them.
Same. So did Rachel. That's why we're terrified.
All the time
You know
in
how
my
dangerous
body.
they are.
Ruin your life.
Okay, we're live to YouTube. I'm just going to put us to the MCN6 Facebook. And we're good.
Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying, yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe. Cause you're all that I crave, so I wonder, where are you? Don't hide away from me when I need you most. We got love guaranteed, and I have to know, say, where are you?
And we are live to Facebook, so you guys can take it away as soon as you're ready.
Tell me where you be, cause I gotta know. Let me know when you're ready, cause I made reservations. Too many invitations, and the last night was heavy. I need communication.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Therapy Rebranded. We're consistently inconsistent.
7.
Ding.
Wow. I'm more on the nose every time, Gabe.
Wow.
Showing out.
I'm losing my job. This feels like AI. AI is taking my job.
The last time the man got this in tuned, he had a woman. What's going on?
Ba-doom-tsh. You don't have a fucking drop for that one, did you?
Should we get into these Reddits?
Let's do it.
We'll take a little client abuse from online.
Can I be a millennial? What does CMV mean?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Therapist and prostitution are the same. No one is genuinely interested. Spicy hot take. I really resonate with Charlie Munger's idea. Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. Most people engage in good faith, but talking to a therapist feels like being with a prostitute. It might make you feel good for a moment, but you're essentially paying for the experience. It doesn't seem to have any real impact. It feels fake and staged. The therapist is there for the money, and it often feels like they're just waiting for you to stop talking so they can move on. It just doesn't feel genuine or meaningful. People who visit these spaces often have a sense of emptiness they're trying to fill, seeking validation or support for their ideas from others. In reality, there are no absolute facts, only interpretations. You will believe what you want to believe. Ultimately, anyone can dismiss your opinion, but you are the only one truly experiencing your own feelings. Others act like mirrors. They reflect your reality, but just like a mirror, they only show what you choose to see, all while their own experience remains a separate reality, observing itself. Edit. I came here after reading this.
And it's a magazine.
From Harper's Bazaar, or Harper's Magazine.
Yeah, and it's like 5 pages talking about the psyche of depressed people. I didn't read it. So the notion, I guess, is that we're akin to prostitutes because our only value is a quick nut, and by quick nut, they mean emotional validation. Is that what she's trying to say?
My literal, when I started reading like the third sentence, my stomach like dropped only because I was just like, what are they talking about? I just felt angry.
I feel attacked.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think actually what I was thinking about is I think it just seems like such a tired old trope to me about therapy. It's not that it's not true about...
What's the trope?
That therapists, you know, it's just like a vapid thing that people go to just discuss kind of and get mirrored back to just their own insecurities, and they just kind of go in a loop. And
I was thinking more along like the lines of picturing like old school therapy with like a rich person who we presume has no real problems on a couch venting, and then a psychiatrist or therapist telling them what's wrong with them or why everyone else is the problem, not them, kind of thing.
Yes.
So you feel like that's not accurate?
I think that it is a certain sect of people who do go to therapy. It is people like that do go to therapy. There are therapists like that who do exist. Some people do practice like that. I think it feels offensive because I don't want to think that I practice like that. So it feels, I'm like, not a therapist. And also I think I feel protective of kind of a different legacy of therapy of just like there have always been people in communities who have like listened to people. People have always gone to others for counsel. Like, I think that there's this really kind of gross medicalizedness of like the therapeutic field right now, or in general, not right now, but it always has been there. But I don't know.
What does gross medicalizedness mean?
Just like it has become this thing that this person has kind of talked about, but that's not what therapy can be for people. It's not what therapy is for people when it really, really works. And I don't know.
How is that ever the therapist's fault? Like, I mean, I can see how people could use it that way. But how is that your control, I guess, or under your control, whether someone takes it seriously or not?
I think it's the therapist's fault if they continue with them for years and years and there's no progress because they want to have a check. Like, I think there are times where somebody will say, like, I've been seeing the same therapist for 8 years and, you know, they've made no progress or nothing's happened that's been different in their life and they've only gone to vent. Like, I think then that means the therapist hasn't held them accountable and pushed them in session.
I actually talked with that about somebody today.
But no, it's not their fault if this is how it's happening, you know, even for the first year or two. The thing that maybe this is just me assuming bias, but it seems like they're saying prostitution in a negative way. And as though like the only benefit of prostitution is like that momentary relief when you have pleasure having sex. Mm-hmm. But I think just like therapy, prostitution also has like long-standing benefits for people who engage in it at times, because it's like the feeling like, yes, the orgasm was great, but like a lot of people are lonely and they don't get like human connection or touch, and they don't get to lay next to another person they're attracted to and have them listen to them and care about them. And like that feeling lasts much longer than like the feeling that you have there. And it's the same with therapy. Like,
you speak on it.
As a therapist, when you have a therapeutic relationship where you trust that therapist and you're yourself and you're authentic and they support you but hold you accountable, that has way more value than what you're doing in just that one day in session. It's kind of like a tether. A lot of people are recreating the relationship that they will never have with their parents, or, and I'm not saying your therapist is your parent, but you're kind of practicing what it would be like to have a safe relationship and trust that person. And it does feel like you have someone in your corner and you have support. That's not, like, obviously there's conditions around being respectful, but there's not conditions around you, like, being a certain kind of person to be accepted. You get to just exist as yourself and have somebody see that and celebrate you and support you and help you figure out who you are. And that has long-standing benefits. Just like having a long-standing relationship with a sex worker probably fills a lot of emotional voids for lonely people. I'm thinking of men specifically. It makes me think, honestly, of like how a lot of people who are single but don't believe in sex work, like, were getting massages during COVID because they literally just needed physical touch.
Ooh, speak on it.
So like there's also a piece of this that makes it seem like prostitution is like a less than thing, and you know, we should be insulted or ashamed or like we're nothing because we could amount to that. And I just think that I wouldn't be a sex worker personally for a lot of reasons, but that doesn't mean that I think negatively about sex work or that the only thing about sex work that's beneficial is helping someone come. Like, that's not it at all.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that, I think, because I literally was just skimming over the comments, and a lot of the people were like also kind of being denigrating about prostitution and sex work, and kind of making the tie between like, well, all prostitutes have been sexually assaulted or have been molested, and like most therapists have been hurt in some way. What do you think about that?
I don't know if like those are conflating arguments. I think the reason that you go into the profession doesn't necessarily correlate with whether the profession itself is valuable, which is what we're talking about. Like, they don't even go together. You might be able to talk about why a therapist is effective, but like they're not the same argument. And that's what I've been realizing a lot lately, actually, is when you just slow down and you're not in your body and you're not pissed off, often you realize during an argument, you and that other person aren't even talking about the same thing. You're not making the same point. You're not trying to really argue for the same thing or outcome. So this, Gabe pulled up a comment that said, It's not natural. Prostitution is the oldest profession. Even women in Stone Ages traded sex for food. It can be argued as more natural than therapy. This overplayed cliche is a myth, says the response.
As if people didn't talk to each other to help each other through things in the early days.
Or there have never been healers, or there have never been religious people that people go, I don't know. It's a very, like, reductive idea of, like...
And then someone responds and said, this overplayed cliche is a myth. Agricultural trades are far more likely to be the world's oldest profession, which I disagree with.
It's just making some stupid...
I also have to say that there was, like... Do people understand that there was a time in human history where, like, mass agriculture wasn't even a thing, and that, like, majority of people's food was hunting, gathering, and...
Agriculture had to be like a thing. Had to be like
it had to be invented and created and over time. But okay,
I just like the idea of someone back then going like, "Hey, Borgarth, it seems like you're having a really hard day." And he's, "Do you want to talk about it?" "No, I'd rather just pay this woman for sex."
Yeah. And does and do.
Absolutely.
The cliche is
sorry here. Gotcha.
The cliche is first coined by the Rudyard Kipling novel, which describes a woman as being in the oldest profession. The setting involves the British imperialists surveying India. The British assumed all women were prostitutes because they saw these people as inferior and primitive. They were often describing women who were actually just singers, dancers, and artists. But even if there was a good point to argue in the age of prostitution, there seems to be an obvious question of, okay, why are women being cornered into bartering usage of their body as a receptacle in exchange for basic human rights like food and housing? Ooh. Are you serious? Sorry, I know you thought that ate, but I thought that was dumb as rocks.
It's basic, but he's not wrong. Like if
he is wrong. Like the reason why prostitution is the oldest profession is because women were literally giving up their bodies so their kids didn't starve and die.
I mean, that's what I thought he just said.
But but it's saying why should this have to happen? Like that was happening to everybody. Women just used what they had.
Yes,
like this is an assumption that people who were prostitutes were being like, they were being wrongly impoverished or like all these terrible things were happening, which maybe is true for some, but like
that's fair.
Women were literally being sold to families and like saving their sexuality because that was the only thing that was seen of value to them. Like,
I mean, people still do that, don't they? Like the cam girls who kind of like save their whatever to the highest bidder.
That's what we all do all the time.
Yeah,
like we all sell what we got.
Yeah, and it's just like men were selling that they were the strongest,
their labor,
or the best warrior, or whatever the thing is. Like this has been going on since the beginning of time. It's just annoying. You know what's annoying to me about it is that they're saying the argument is reductive, but their argument's reductive.
It's ludicrous.
Their argument's reductive. Like for them to be like, I can't believe they said that's the oldest profession. That's not true. Because let's be honest, the first time it was ever recorded was in British history. Like, how do we know that?
And also, like, British history is not the oldest history. And,
is being sexually abused really necessarily a profession? Doesn't that seem extremely reductive? We could go on and on here. Not everybody who's engaging in sex work is being abused.
No, not
Who
by
are
any
these
means.
people?
You can stop all these conversations whenever you ask the person, like, do you think someone who's making $2,000 a night or an hour is being trafficked?
Right.
She lives in a nicer house than you. Is she being fucking trafficked? Like,
she might. It's not. It's that she might be. There might be those situations where she's being trafficked, but that's not all. It's
right. It's just not all, and it's
not
highly
the whole
unlikely.
experience.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, I'm just like, anyways, basically people are arguing about the value of therapy, the value of prostitution, the value of all these different things, but...
People hate women in women-led professions.
What do you mean? We love women. We pay them for sex.
That's how I feel. I think that's what it is. I feel like if men were in therapy, they'd be like, oh my God, the things that they're coming up with, the things that are happening in the therapy room...
No.
Revolutional.
I feel like therapy right now, like the culture around therapy right now is like... seen as like still a little woo-woo and foo-foo, and like it's not appealing to men because it's seen as like lesser.
I
agree. I disagree. I think yes, overall, but I mean, I'm kind of astonished by how many guys have that side, who are cool with it, who do it, who.
There are a lot of men who do it. But there's not a lot of men that I hear being like, I just really want to like help people in this way.
Okay. I'm sorry. You're saying who want to be
They become-
therapists.
those-
Yeah, who want to be
I'm
therapists.
sorry.
Yeah.
Never
become
mind. I
cops.
take it back.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was
take
like,
it back
like
completely.
that itself is woo woo and foo foo, and like maybe the foo foo thing helps me, so I'm gonna do it.
It's just feminine.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being a teacher or a nurse.
Yeah.
Like it's not like people don't prop up
Or a
those
ballet
professions
dancer.
as like being, but the thing is the key quality that's celebrated is being nurturing, and that's not really like what men I think would. If you had to pick the top 5 in your identity, a lot of men wouldn't pick that. Like if you had to say circle 5 things that are most important to who you are, I don't think they'd pick that. I think tons of women would pick that. I'm not saying that men aren't nurturing. I just don't know if it's as core to the identity as being like strong and reliable.
We're nurturing to our children,
But I don't
to
even,
our families, or
but I
whatever.
don't think that they
but to
would
do it-
circle it for themselves. I agree with Gervais. I don't know if they would put that for themselves even in the
As
top
in their
10.
top
Hell no, it's
5.
feminine.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's not that men aren't that. I just don't know if it's not as core to their identity.
Do you get what I'm saying though? Like it is natural for us to be nurturing to like our kids, but to be nurturing to someone else's kids is like get the fuck out of here kind of
I
thing.
do think it's natural to be nurturing, period. I just
Okay.
don't think that even men who are nurturing
Think of
that I don't
themselves.
put that in the top 5 things they're most proud of about themselves.
No, I do agree with you. I was just curious if you also saw that. Like, I feel like women have an ability to be more nurturing to, people outside of their bodies, whereas men are more selfish with like their immediate people.
Yes, and I've seen some men have kids and then they just like switch to being nurturing overall. That they just get more comfortable with children
Oh,
and
I
like
think
being
I'm that
around
way.
people.
Yeah.
Like I think sometimes you just switch.
It's
My father was not one of those.
Yeah.
He could only pay attention to the child in front of him.
Can I ask you guys
Sorry.
one like quick thing about therapy? Because if there's one thing that's been on my mind, if
No,
there's
sorry, no more questions about therapy. I don't know why you would ask us that.
one criticism that
The next one's a
Maybe not
criticism too, so
okay, let's just go to that one and I'll see if it fits.
okay.
Okay, I resent
It fits.
Okay.
I resent therapy culture. Don't tell me to see another therapist. I've always felt like an outsider wearing skin, but it became.
I'm sorry. I read that line and I had to pick it because I was like, this loser thinks they're so interesting. I'm so sorry. I always felt like an outsider wearing skin. This is something I would have wrote in my journal at 12.
And they think that they're the most interesting person on the face of the earth.
Oh my God.
I've always felt like an outsider wearing skin. I actually have somebody who I can't say right now in my head, but I'll tell you afterwards.
I did too. Are you related to him?
But it became tenfolded when one of my parents took their life when I was young. It destroyed my world, and even now, a decade later, I'm finding more pieces to pick up. People insist I should have moved on by now. I haven't. I don't form connections, not due to a lack of effort. Is this sense of isolation an inherent part of life?
No.
Sorry, I don't know why I wanted to laugh, and I felt like a fucked up person.
I want to laugh in this person's fucking face. too.
Everyone's
It's-
knee-jerk reaction is to get uncomfortable and try to end the conversation by suggesting therapy. I've tried a bunch. None of them helped. Some of them re-traumatized me. How are coping mechanisms or CBT or whatever supposed to help with this alien feeling I've experienced my whole life? I have so much resentment bubbling inside. Back when the wounds were fresh, nobody wanted to spare the time to listen to this needy kid. It was all throw the burden into the therapist's office and let them take care of it. It's so frustratingly confusing.
So before Gabe comes up with his question or his comment and how this is related, I just want to say that my initial gut reaction to this is that there is some misplaced hate on therapy culture and therapists rather than the fact that everybody in your life was nicely telling you they're emotionally unavailable and don't want to hear your fucking problems.
Just thinking.
And they were saying it nicely by suggesting therapy. This is their way of telling you they think you're ill. They can't help you and they don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
And that's hurtful and it sucks. I don't think that has anything to do with therapy. Now, therapy not being helpful is a totally different thing that we can
Right.
talk about. But I just want to name, like, nobody wanted to hear what you had to say. And that sucks that you didn't have, like, a healthy grandparent to, like, take over and raise you and mourn with you the loss of one of your parents. And I'm very curious how they ended their life, which is none of my business. But I'm very curious if it was together or, like, succinctly after. Because those are
He
both
wants
very
somebody to,
traumatic.
like, tend to him as a parent would, like read my body language, know what I need, and that's not. You're an adult now.
I also think
I always felt like an outsider wearing skin. She was just unique right from the drop. I guess girl or guy? Girl.
Man,
Okay.
I don't know why.
I actually
Whatever
can't tell. But you know what I also thought of, and this is very sick and probably not true, but do you think there's a part of them that's very happy they have a reason they can qualify for being this weird?
Yeah.
I think they fucking killed their parents. This is the most disgusting person. Like, this mindset makes me fucking sick. I can't even imagine doing your job if this person came in.
I work
Like,
with this
where it's
person.
just like,
I can't imagine doing your job.
no one has it harder than me.
I've had these
it
people
the
who
worst.
should have been an inpatient and couldn't get in, and so I ended up with them. I don't have them currently, but I used to. And they're
It's like, do you know what goes on in the world, you stupid motherfucker? Like, do
I
you
mean,
know how
to be
ugly
fair,
it is?
not a single one of us went through our childhood without both parents.
it's true.
They have
No
a
doubt.
real trauma that they get to point out.
100%.
And it's a service and a disservice because clearly that has become their identity.
That's their crutch.
But they were already an outsider wearing skin.
Were they or did they rewrite that as an adult? You don't know just because they felt like they used to feel like that. They could have rewrote that in their head.
Well, this person rewrote their narrative is set. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Set.
How do you get anyone out of this as a therapist when they're this? I mean, this is like, this is my identity. Is I get
TMS.
fucked over the most.
No, I'm joking. Sorry.
What's TMS?
I don't know the right word for it. It's like trans something, but it's electroshock. It's essentially electroshock.
Oh, so
therapy.
lobotomy.
Lobotomy?
I'm just kidding.
No.
I was kidding.
I'm like, no, it's not it. But yeah, essentially. I tried to tell somebody I love that recently.
The truth of the matter is that if someone came into my office spouting this, like let's say this is a 16-year-old, which would be great actually, because then I would feel very different about them. This would be them still exploring who they are, and I would have a lot less judgment. In my mind, this person's like 35.
I want them to be, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
I feel like
in my mind, they're like
38.
35. But let's say they're like 16, right? And they came to my office and they said all this to me. I wouldn't even try to change their mind. I would work a lot with their foster parents or adoptive parents or group home or whoever it is on like how to assist them and help them navigate. I wouldn't even try to like change their mind on any of this. Now, this being a 35-year-old and they came into my office and they said this to me, I'd be like, the thing that, you know, at the risk of being offensive, I'm just going to have to say it because I just don't know a better way to say this.
I love that type of shit.
But I just think what I'm hearing is that you've been rejected for a lot of your life and you're really upset about it. And you feel like people use therapy as an excuse to reject you. And that does suck. But you're here right now clearly because you see some value in this or you wouldn't be here. So what can we get done that's helpful? What do you want to do?
Speaking
And that would tell me a lot how they responded to that. Whether they would probably leave, blow up,
lean in.
or they'd be grateful I talked to them like
Yeah.
a human. I don't really know. But there's nothing you can really do about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any truth to the
like
fact that
existential
people overplay how helpful therapy is going to be? Like, is it
Yes.
ridiculous to think that going to therapy is going to help resolve this level of trauma?
I do.
Say more.
I think that on the one hand, that therapy, and that more people talk about this now, but therapy can address structural, I'm not using the right word, structural or systemic like issues,
You are.
like, poverty, ongoing grief maybe is something that it can, I don't know, like a deep, deep wound. I don't know if just going and talking to somebody can fill that wound. It might abate it. It might help ease the burden of it, but it's, people really go looking to fill holes or looking to, and I don't know, maybe it can kind of do little holes or like little dents, but I don't know if therapy can fix deep, I think clinically we would call it like attachment wounds or something like that, but that doesn't feel quite right. Like it doesn't fix relational wounds, I guess.
Yeah.
And, or big traumas or like big, I don't know, living through war or something. I don't know if therapy can address like anything like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a really good therapist would see somebody like this and be like, you're so focused on what you're not. Like, who are you?
yeah.
Like, your whole identity is built around who you aren't. Your whole identity is built around the fact that your parents aren't around, the fact that you aren't the norm, that you aren't successful in therapy, that you aren't all these things. Who
But what
are
are
you?
you? Yes.
And I think it doesn't take away from any of the stuff, but I think
You're
as corny
incorporating
as corny and white supremacist as it sounds in some ways, I do think what you put your energy towards matters. That's not going to change poverty. I'm just talking about this person, and we're going to pretend they're an adult. But, like, there is some accountability around, like, what are you going to spend your time and energy doing? This person didn't bring up that they are financially unstable.
Yep.
They didn't bring up that they don't have a career they like. They didn't bring up that they don't have food.
internal
Like, all of
turmoil.
their basic needs, I'm assuming, are met.
Yeah.
Right? When your basic needs aren't met, therapy's not going to do really anything. But
Yep.
I'm assuming all their basic needs are met. So, yes, therapy could actually do something in this scenario. But yeah, I resent therapy culture. You should resent the people who took over after your parents ended their lives, because it sounded like they did a foul job. Saucy and Sweet 333 says CBT and other behavioral therapies are the biggest racket around. Kind of agree. Therapists are the handmaids of capitalism and status quo enforcers. They gaslight us into thinking we are the problem, so we will keep paying them, shut up, and get back to work so we have money to pay them, rinse and repeat. The issue I have with this sentiment is that
It is
capitalism
true.
doesn't really like us. Like, I don't
Doesn't like therapists or doesn't like people?
therapists. Like, I don't
Yes.
like, I don't feel like, I don't know. I just don't feel like the dominant culture. I don't know.
It's hard because
I guess it's reinforcing a type of therapy, but the therapy
Right.
that is effective, I don't feel like is really reinforcing or allowing to do that. There's actually a lot of rules that kind of prevent effective therapists from functioning well.
yes.
So actually, it's kind of
Yes.
not that way. But
It's that-
there's tons of them that are just like, change your thoughts and your life will be great.
and people, I know how harmful CBT has been and can be, and I think unfortunately that's how most therapists are trained, and that's what they stick in. Like, they don't like want to branch out to doing literally AFAB. It sounds like you have a list. AFAB.
You trying to say ACAB? No, ain't that?
Nobody's gonna believe you. You sound like a loser. That's so funny. But it's true. I think that a lot of therapists only do like the interrogate your thoughts, and so then will lead to your feelings, and that's what's wrong. Instead of looking at family structure, instead of looking at systems of oppression, instead of looking at like what is actually weighing on you, and like maybe you're not the problem, maybe the world like is really that difficult, or is really, I don't know. There's just so many other things like somatic work. I don't know. And I feel like I encounter a lot of folks who kind of stop at the CBT, like, therapy has never worked for me. And I'm like, not that that's, maybe that's true, but I also think there's just, when you really ask, there's so many other things. There's just so many other things that can be therapeutic in our therapy. And it's not just like, tell me your thoughts and feelings, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it is the most accessible thing. And it is the thing that is kind of pushed the most, which makes it hard to.
Totally. Gabe, what were you going to say before about therapy?
Well, so this is, if you recall back to episode 361 or whatever it was, but I mentioned that my 8-year-old is in therapy, that my ex put him in it, and I was like, why? Like, it was a very surprising thing to me. Mm-hmm. And it was really just on a counselor had said that he'd be negative sometimes, kind of like it was a kind of minor thing. So I went and I met with the therapist,
okay,
kind of because she scheduled it on my days finally. So I went and I talked to her, and I said, "Yeah, how's it?" And I start off by mentioning that I produce a podcast about therapy, of course. So I'm trying to say, like, I am a big fan of it and all this. I said,
yeah.
I'm just, but I got to admit, I am just confused. Like, what happened? Like, what are you guys doing? What does he talk about? And she goes, I don't know. It's like pretty pleasant. Like, he just comes in and we kind of talk about the weekend. And in the beginning, he had a few thought traps that we talked about. But, I mean, he's so smart. He's so smart.
So is she avoiding telling you what they talk about, or are they really talking about nothing?
She was just, that's 100% the impression I got.
Well, because sometimes I underplay what I'm doing with people because I don't want parents to pry, but she just made it sound like they were doing nothing.
So she invited me to talk to her after. Like, it wasn't my idea. Like, I want to talk to you about this. Mm-hmm. She said, it's the first time we met. I want to know if you want to hear what we're doing. Like, she volunteered it. So I was like...
Oh, interesting.
And it's just funny because it was exactly like, yeah, I talked to him about thought traps and negativity and all, because he was doing that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But what it made me think of is to go, and I'm still good with it, like, whatever. But it's one of those things where it's like, is there an end, though, to this?
Do you think you're good with it because it's the good parent thing to do to be good with it? Okay. Because I'm like, it doesn't sound like you feel like it's worthwhile.
I feel like it's unnecessary.
Are you worried about, because this is something I deal with parents, Are you worried about it creating stigma in himself, like
Yes.
a feeling something's wrong with him?
100%. Or thinking of it as a crutch where it's just like, well, I have.
That's something people
this.
do. They go to therapy.
They do, but people also do create crutches for
No.
themselves.
What I'm asking is, you're worried that he's going to view therapy as something people just do.
Yes, it's just this endless thing
Yeah.
that I have to be in, and I'm reliant on it, kind of, or what? Just someone who even like.
And that's what I was saying about what could be wrong, like where therapists could be held accountable, because I meet teens all the time who come to inpatient and they're not even being honest with their therapist. And I'm like, well, why are you in therapy? And they're like, because my parents put me in therapy. And that's it. Like, I don't know. My parent put me in therapy. And it was because, they had some behavioral issue at school or their parents are getting divorced or whatever. But they're not even talking about that in therapy because they don't want to. And the therapist isn't doing a good job. And like, to me, where you become like kind of liable for this thing we're being accused of, which is just trying to make money, is when you're not making progress or it doesn't seem needed and you're still doing it.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. Like, is
Yeah.
there an end game here?
It's actually
Like,
exactly what I said to somebody when I was.
Yeah, there is.
I'm
You're
just
supposed to have
sign up.
treatment goals and you're supposed to check in about the treatment goals every 3 months. And like see if you're progressing towards the treatment goals. And like,
For kids, you check in every 3 months.
I mean, in theory, you don't have to check in every 3 months. You can check in every 6 months, but it's best practice to check in about whether you think how you
Yes.
think things are going every couple months. And so like,
you're blowing me away right now. I don't believe I've ever had therapy goals in
Yeah.
the therapy I've done.
you're supposed to have goals. And like, I think for me, because I do crisis intervention, I'm like, first session, I'm like, these are the goals.
The goals are a lot more defined.
And
right?
well, and I define them.
Yeah.
I'm like, the goal of this session is to talk about what got us to hospitalization and what is the plan after hospitalization to prevent them from returning or completing suicide. That is the plan. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're working on. And like when I was in individual therapy for a lot of years, like I wasn't always working towards a goal every session, but if I came to a session without like something big that happened, like she was like, okay, she had like a whole notebook and she like pulled it out and was like, this is all the things we were talking about. This is the trauma we were processing. Do we want to go back to this? Because remember, this was our goal. Like she always knew like what we were trying to accomplish.
Where you were
and like as
oriented.
an adult, you have things pop up that you want to come in and just vent about, and that's fine. You can have sessions like that. But it should always come back to at some point what we're working on. And if you're coming and venting so much that you guys aren't able to work through your goals, then you need to have a therapist that's able to reframe like, okay,
And move through.
move through, but also like, why are you venting? Like,
Yes.
is the overall issue that you have bad boundaries with the people in your life? Is the issue that you're putting yourself in crisis? Like a good therapist will figure out why you're constantly every week in so much chaos that you need to vent to them and how to help you get your life more stable. And those will be the new goals.
Well, and a lot of people talk about that therapist who like gets pulled into every single like one of their like fights or arguments with somebody or whatever like little disagreement it is.
And by
like
a lot
you
of
said-
people, you mean other therapists.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Other therapists will often, but it's our job to like look kind of at the whole thing and like pull out themes or pull
Yeah.
out things in people's lives that because you're in it you can't see.
And just so you know, if your 8-year-old's on health insurance and that's how you guys are paying for this, she's saying you guys have goals and that you're working towards them, and she's billing the insurance company and saying the progress you guys are making towards the goals.
Yeah.
She's
And I
required
really
to
liked
do
her,
that.
By the way, like there wasn't a,
No.
you know what I mean? But
No, and hers
in
is
case
probably-
she watches because I mentioned this.
No, and it's not that she's bad, right? But
No.
I think it's normal. Like I think as a parent, you should be skeptical of another adult that you're allowing to be alone with your kid for 45 minutes
it's healthy.
and have them bounce their ideas off of.
Right.
Like that's intimate. Like the only
It
people
is.
they do that with is you guys.
Yeah, giving someone access to your kid's brain like that.
Yeah, and having them go in knowing this is an authority figure who's supposed to know what they're talking about. So they're walking in believing the things they're going to say.
Do you think there's anything to what I'm saying about, like I know it's true that certain people can start making things a crutch and believe that they have something broken within them and they lean on it.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's just, I don't know.
I don't think it's made up at all. It's why I stopped going to my current therapist, actually. When I made the decision to stop seeing my current therapist, it wasn't that I couldn't have gone deeper into my childhood trauma. There's more childhood trauma to work through. Like, I could have done more. That's not
I'll
what
help
it
you
is.
out.
Thanks. You can help me with doing trauma therapy. So, it was that, and the reason I came to the realization and to the thing is I sat down with her and I just told her, I was like, I think I'm giving way too much credit to therapy for my stability. Like, I think I've told myself the reason I'm stable is because of like this therapy relationship. Like, when I think about us not having a relationship, I feel scared and ill. Like, when I throw up. It's not even that I go to therapy every week. I wasn't going every week. I was going twice a month. But like, just the idea of having that relationship somehow was like what was creating stability in my life. And I told her, I was like, I think I'm using this relationship as literally like basically a crutch, like as a way to. There was a lot of times I would ignore my feelings because I was like, well, I'll talk about it in therapy. It's like, okay, you're gonna just shove everything down and only deal with it 2 hours a month. Yeah. Okay. There was a lot of times where I felt lonely with the elders or like the adults in my life, and I was like, well, at least I have my therapist. This is like, okay, but are you gonna like deal with the grief that you're having? And then there was a lot of times that I would be having meltdowns and be like, I'm doing this bad and I'm in therapy. Like, what does that say about me? And I was just like, I need to just pull out. Like, I'm not even saying I'm done for good with therapy, but I just need to like prove to myself which I like already intellectually know to be true, which is like, this is not why I'm stable. And it has boosted my self-esteem. It's only been 3 months. It has boosted my self-esteem so much to be like, yeah, this is just how I function as an adult now. Like, I actually got a bunch of shit from therapy.
This
like,
is my
I'm
baseline now.
Fine. Like, this is fine.
Extreme ownership
Yeah,
rules,
girl.
Huh?
I said extreme ownership rules, I think.
It
as a
felt
mentality, like,
it just felt so good to be like, this is why. But it's already what I knew to be true and what she was telling me. Like, when I was, and this, I know my therapist isn't a fucked up person. She was like, but you're going to be fine. Like, she's been saying that to me. Like, this is made up in your head.
and that's
You're going to be fine.
I ask you guys, so
Yeah.
because Rachel, you go to therapy too, right?
Yeah.
So
Do you think you'd be okay without your therapist?
I know I would be, but I also know I'm not, like, I'm, like, in the midst of, like, trying to, like, I would be fine.
You don't
guys-
like your baseline.
Do you love to go?
I don't like my baseline, though. What'd you say?
Do you love to go?
No.
We both dread going, but that's because we're doing real work.
Okay.
Like, I have it tomorrow at 10 a.m., and I already am like, is there an excuse I can use to get out of this shit?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so painful when you're doing real work. It hurts so much.
And I actually had a conversation with her a couple weeks ago about, like, wanting her to kind of, like, just not hold my feet, just kind of, like, I don't even remember what I said.
I said that to a therapist once. Like, don't.
It's not that she doesn't hold my feet to the fire, but it's help me with language, with actually, like Javaid had pointed out too, which was really helpful. And
her therapist does a little bit of the, like, I'm just going to sit back quietly and let you figure it out.
and it, like, doesn't always work for me. And she, like, responded and like we talked about it and it was great and like it was fine. But yeah, I don't want to go tomorrow morning so badly.
But she's also doing kind of like a form of trauma therapy.
Yeah, she's doing brain spotting on me, which I've been like, I just, sometimes I like fake not having my headphones so I don't have to do it. And I can just do regular processing shit.
You should just fake the brain spots.
You
can't.
Can't.
It's
And you don't want to. Like, I don't want to.
It's also really childish that you can't just say, I don't want to do this today. Grow up.
She knows. She knows. Because the next time she's like, are you ready to do it this fucking time? Like, she's not.
But just stop white lying.
I know.
You got it, girl.
What do you guys like?
You get it down to 5 lies a day. You can do it.
I can't.
You can do it. Get it down to 5 lies a day.
Fuck.
Give yourself a cap. You got to stop with the white lies, bro.
I know.
Oh, you need to read the book that I read. It changed my life
send
with
it
that.
to me.
The Sam Harris one online.
She does tons of white lies, and none of them
Me
are
too.
malicious.
To get out of shit all the time.
None of them
No,
are
me too,
malicious.
to make your road easy.
Yeah.
Yes. And every time I do it, I know because I have one person in my mind. I'm like, you're doing it. You're doing it. This is how you do it. I do it every time.
Oh, I used to do it like crazy. It was in my marriage that I was discovered. I did one on the phone in front of her in the car, and she's looking at me, and I was like, I was getting the person off the phone. Like, what
that's
the
bad.
fuck? And she's like,
That's
you
Rachel.
lied.
Yeah, it is.
And I was like, what? I mean, I was
I'll be like,
gobsmacked.
I don't want to do that.
You were like, it wasn't a real lie. Fuck
Yeah,
off.
I genuinely did not get it. Like, I genuinely was like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Square.
Yeah, yes, 100%. And then I read that. It started becoming a thing. And I read that book, and it blew my mind because it goes on the physiology of your lies and like
It
how
feels like such a cop out. I'm like, bitch, just cut that shit out.
you have
No, you
to
can't.
like
It's ingrained
keep
in
that
who you
little
are.
lie in your head. And then you have to
Pathological.
think about every other person who might be a mutual who knows that person who would know that lie. Like,
Guess
how
what?
much you're devoting your brain power to
Guess
it.
what? Rachel doesn't care about being consistent that much. She doesn't keep the lies in her head. She just
I do.
lies, and then you call her out, and then she goes, "Did I say that?
Oops.
Did I say that?"
Sometimes I have
I
a really
respect
fucked
it.
up memory. That sometimes
respect
I
it.
really don't remember.
Because you lie that much.
That's probably that true.
You also lie that much.
That's probably true.
That it doesn't stand in your brain because they're
Yes.
because and this is something I will say because I never thought my best friend would be a liar. Love you.
Doesn't sound like
Is that
I actively do talk about this. In
no? I
therapy,
love her a
FYI.
lot, and it doesn't.
such
It
an
literally,
issue.
I've never met a person who doesn't lie about anything of like she doesn't lie about anything of value. Like every other person I've met, they lie about things of value, and then it's like an issue. It's always like
Yes, my
Same,
mother
baby.
would say.
it's
Yeah.
always tiny. Like it's
comfort.
always some shit that doesn't fucking matter that you didn't even need to lie
It's
about. So I'm not mad.
embarrassed, which is why it's so like, bitch, why?
It's always over nothing. It's always
and
like
comfort.
something that I'm not even mad about. Like literally, like she'll be like, "I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "It's fine."
It's literally fine. I'm so afraid of being fucking like.
You have bad boundaries. That's why you'd rather lie than say, "I don't want to do that." That's really what
Yep.
it is. That's
I
all
used
it
to be
is.
that way. Like Rachel, I was so much that, and I'm
so
not saying I
bad,
don't have to
dude.
fight it sometimes.
No, it's
Yeah.
so
but
bad.
it's pretty rare. It really has been.
And it is. You give yourself all the little excuses all the way along. And what's crazy is I heard those excuses out loud from somebody in life growing up, and now I'm like, oh my god, I'm doing it. Like I can hear it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm
Yeah,
doing it.
she like let me down on Saturday like mildly, but I was being an asshole. I was like,
No,
sending,
you weren't. It was a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal, but I was sending like memes about it and stuff just to
It
like
was
fuck
funny.
with her. I was just like fucking with her as she was fucking up, and her response was literally to promise me the world. I kid you not. She like
was like, I'll
wrote
do this,
back
I'll
and
do
was
this,
like,
I'll do this.
"The thing I let you down on today, I'll do this for you the day of your wedding." And in my head, I was like, "This
She
is."
would. She
I would.
Right,
No,
to
she
make up for it,
would,
to
but
get
I'm
out of
just
it.
like,
It's so extra.
no, it's just like why do you think you have to reciprocate the world because you let me down tiny, like a 2. Like I'm not even saying it to be nice. It
No,
literally
I
was
know.
it was so not meaningful.
And even
it
like-
was literally like basically the equivalent of like, could you drop off food on your way? And
Literally.
then you were like, I actually can't drop off food. Like it was literally the equivalent of that.
Literally.
Because
and
the
she-
pain and self-hate is so great.
So
I was like, this
Bruh.
isn't even this
I'm like,
deep.
oh my god, she's not gonna be my best friend. And I'm not literally thinking those things.
You are.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
It's just
It's
I'm not.
in you,
It's literally it's like that.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking that you're gonna be mad at me. I'm just like, oh my god, I just know
You
that
just want it to be
I
over.
fucked up. Like I'm not even thinking about like how bad it is. I just know that I fucked up and like I should just like I just need to like smooth it.
And then she came to my house and literally like was breaking glasses and kicking things
Yeah.
over, like because she was so nervous and upset, bro. I was so uncomfortable. I felt like I had
problem.
abused her, bro. Like she literally
And
like
literally, I know it's me.
she knocked over some water, and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I can't do anything right today. I'm so sorry." And she was
so
like
bad.
scrambling, and I already had a
It's
towel and
so
was picking
bad.
it up, and then
She was literally
she
like,
sat
"Yo,
on the wet
it's
spot on
fine."
the couch. I was like, "What is going on?" She like fake cleaned it up, and then she sat on it for the rest of the night. Like my man was gonna come out and backhand her. Like I was like,
She probably pissed herself earlier. And then
I
she
was
just sat
sweating
there to
so hard
cover
through
it
my
up.
butt that it went onto the couch.
First of all,
It's
that's
so bad.
which is like everyone in my family is just really blunt. Like me and my mom would be like, "You dropped the ball on that," and I'd be like, "Yeah, well, fuck," you know. Like it's not the same. I'm just not used to that.
No, and in my family, they would like I would get raked over the coals. Like I know, in theory, nobody in their right mind gives a fuck about like being 20, like
Yeah.
or like forgetting a thing or like whatever. Like it's not consequential to our relationship. But in my head, I'm like, do I really know that?
But you've
Like,
been raised by
it's a
people where
feeling.
it is.
Wait, say it again.
You've been raised by people where it is, because
Yes.
I've heard you every time you make a mistake, specifically with your mom. Her response is, "This is why I can't trust you and you're not reliable."
Yep.
It doesn't matter how big the mistake is. That's her response every time. It could be tiny. It
Yep.
could be
I
like
mean, my dad even
it could be like
jokingly-
I was supposed to bring over 9 cups, but I brought over 8, and she'd be
Yeah.
like, "This is why I can't trust you or ask anything of you. This is such a big day for me, and I can't believe
Well,
you did
even
this."
like that, it's that, or like my dad
my
will jokingly,
sister.
like he picked me up for the airport the other day to bring me, and it was supposed to pick me up at 9. I literally got down there at 9:03, and he goes, "You're late." But he was actually like perturbed, like he was irritated that I couldn't like bother to be down there even like 2 minutes early. But I was like, it's
But you nigga, you'll be late. So how do I know you're gonna be there on time? You'll be late.
once you have that identity, though, it's like they
and
just
none of this
feast on it.
negates that the little white lies are so fucked up. And
They're not so fucked up.
Hold on, but they do erode a relationship.
They don't. You know why they erode relationships that aren't ours? Because you can't do repair with them because they're so mean to you.
Cries.
No, seriously, because like you can come to me and be like, "Oh, I lied about that thing," or I can catch you in a lie and I'll be like, "Girl, why you lie about that?"
And I was like, "Yeah."
And you're like, "I did lie. I was just embarrassed. I wasn't ready to tell you." I'm like,
But
"That's totally fine." And then that's kind of me and my other best friend Patrice's whole thing is like, if you're not causing harm directly to me, none of my business. Like, I'm kind of just like, whatever.
It's like your shit with yourself.
Yeah, it's like your shit with yourself. Like, the same thing when, like, girls lie about how bad their relationship is. Like, there's literally women who will stop being friends with other women because they aren't being honest about what's going on between them and their boyfriend. It's none of your fucking business, right? So, like, there's differences in that. But, like, Rachel will do a white lie, and then she'll even try to take... I've watched her try to take it back immediately, and they're like, nope, it's too late. This is exactly who you are. I think what you missed because you were upset is Gabe said, once you have this identity, you can't shake it. Gabe, has that happened to you?
In the family unit.
Yeah,
yes,
in your family.
100%.
Once your family sees you as a white liar,
feast
a
on it.
liar, they just...
Oh yeah, for
Or
sure.
just, you're the fuck up. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
don't even think they see me as the fuck up. Maybe
I'm
at
being
ti-
extreme
but
with that,
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
You're talking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
I do know what you're talking about because I feel like that.
Yeah.
On the inside, I'm like, oh, I can't do anything right. I can't support, like, whatever the internal monologue is. And the white lie is like, it's almost like I deserve this, which sounds really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I just want to like, it's like a take back, which is fucked.
Is there any jealousy in your like? Are you?
There's
prettier
sibling
than any of
competition.
them
I was going
or
to say,
anything like
depending
that?
on how you finish the sentence, yes.
There's sibling competition.
Yes.
Yeah, because your parents kind of pitted you guys against each other
Yeah.
inadvertently.
One parent.
One parent in particular.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Mine did too.
my dad definitely
knowing.
would like show favorites, and he definitely was like blatantly easier on me for like gender reasons, but whatever. But or like would, he would say I was his favorite,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is hurtful to your son.
I, to this day, tell my mom that my brother's her favorite, and she argues with me. I guess my brother says the same thing.
I know you have a hang up about it. It's funny.
Yeah, oh,
Why
it's
is it-
great. Well, actually, it's not even a real hang up.
Yeah, it is.
The real hang up is that she won't admit it.
Okay.
Actually,
Yes.
the real hang up is that she won't admit it, and that when I started pointing out the differences in how she treats us, her response was before she went back to therapy. It's a different response now. Good for her. She's grown a lot, but her response was, he forced me to be that kind of parent, and you didn't. And that shit irked me to my fucking core.
Oh, that
was-
Because
yeah.
I'm like, don't fucking put this shit on me at 12. Mm-hmm. You're really gonna act like you weren't a better parent because you're 15 years older?
Yeah.
Don't do that. And
I
then
got
she,
your back, mommy. There really is though. Your kids do pull different shit out of you.
But that has
though.
nothing to do with the kid.
oh, it does. It does, because it's whether your kid triggers you or not. I'll tell you who the favorite kid is. It's the least triggering one.
Yes.
That's it. It's not that hard. And every family I'm in, the most compliant or the kid they can be the most proud of, whatever that means for them, is the favorite kid. And the thing that sucks is that some kids they're the most proud, their parents are the most proud of them over shit they didn't earn. And then that becomes a trigger. Like, it's the only boy, or
Yeah.
they're the most attractive, or they're the smartest, which, like, you didn't earn that when you guys were all 6 and 9.
Right,
You know what I mean? Or, like, whatever. Or, like, they had a better temperament as a baby, or whatever the thing is, right? I think then
They associate
that
it with
shit
that.
starts to really get to people's self-esteem, because it's like, well, I never had a chance to be the favorite. Mm-hmm. Like, that
I
was
never got
never gonna happen.
Yep.
I see that happen all the time with, like, kids on the unit.
I used to be afraid of having a favorite or that I'd play one. And I got to say, it's so fucking awesome to. I mean, you definitely favor certain ones at certain times.
Yeah.
But I love how that it shifts like wildly. Like, my daughter can be a pain in the ass, but then she'll come up. The other day I was taking a shit and she comes to the door, like she goes, knocks, and she goes, "Do you need anything, Daddy?" Like, and I was just like, "You're so fucking sweet." Pain in the ass the whole day, but just that moment, I was like, that is so sweet that she thinks that way.
Because she's ready to follow up with, "Can I get a snack?"
We
I'm
also
sure.
all have
I'm
this.
sure.
Rachel and I both have similar dynamics to your kids, which is there's one boy, one girl,
Oh, okay.
which I think
What's your
creates
experience with that? Yeah, I mean,
it creates a no comparison
Boy, do they love that boy.
for me though. Yeah, they do love that. Women love their sons.
Love their son.
But there's less comparison. I feel like because we're so far apart in age too.
There's something about us
okay.
being older.
There's like no comparison.
I think there is something about being an older sister to a younger brother that I don't know if I get the same experience as like having parents who I never felt like they idolized him. It was never. It was just like. It wasn't he was better at it. Just like it. Just he was.
You get more attention being oldest.
He was. I don't even want to say this. I don't want.
No, don't say.
Yeah.
It. No.
Yeah.
They. I feel like you guys rotated.
Yes, I agree.
And
I
who
think
got
we still
attention
do.
throughout the years.
And
You
we
guys
still do.
it rotates. Doesn't like like you guys kind of.
My
I
brother
think when
said to
there's
me the
two
other day-
boys or two girls, there's a lot more comparison,
There's like matching.
and they like write that off. And then I think there's a lot of things parents just write off as gender differences.
My brother said to me the other day, he goes, Rachel's and I's issues are because our parents should. It's not because we have issues with each other. I was like, interesting.
I don't know about that.
And I was like, I've never heard that before.
Is there a way? I mean, how the hell does a parent guard against not favorite or even no? Because your kids are going to say things. They're going to in general probably believe that they're not favored. I would think. I bet if you ask both my kids now, they'd both say the other one is the favorite.
Yeah, but that's because of their age. I think like if you want your adult kids to feel like there's not favorites, I feel like if you can muster up a similar level of patience and intimacy with both of them, they'll feel pretty seen. By intimacy, I mean like you know them both well, and you know what they're into and what they like, and you can share that with them. I think sometimes with parents will just inherently have similar interests with one of their kids or different things in common, and they build like way more intimate relationships with them as adults on accident.
No doubt.
So it's just easier.
Do you think that? So okay, I don't know if we did this on the show or if I read it on my own on Reddit, but there was a thing where a husband got in trouble because he did a boys' trip with his two boys to go fishing or whatever, and then he had a daughter too, and she was extremely upset by it that she couldn't go. And the wife did not defend him at all. Like it divided the family kind of. And I'm wondering where you guys stand on something like that, because to me, as long as there's reciprocation, as long as the daughter gets something as well. I mean, if my daughter really wanted to go, I'd let her come, obviously, like for me. But
Was there a huge age gap between the kids?
I don't know that, I guess. But
Because that would make a huge difference.
yeah. Okay. I mean, let's say she's 5 years younger and they're all 18 or 20,
Well, then
whatever
it's
it is.
acceptable because you guys are going to behave differently on the trip.
Okay. But I mean, is there okay if they're a year apart and, hey, me and the boy are going to go to a hockey game and then,
It's all okay. But
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think the difference would be, does your son actually like hockey, or do you want him to like hockey?
Well, yeah, no. For dads, you're always shoving that down your kid's throat.
Right. So I'm saying, is he already at the point where he likes it and that's something you guys share together?
Right.
Because it would be fucked up if let's say she was the one who was really into fishing and she couldn't come because
No
she's
doubt.
a girl, right? So it's you can't say black and white, because
Yeah.
I think if it's a shared interest with one kid, the other kid doesn't have to come for fairness.
right.
And I think
Yeah.
if there's an age gap, they don't have to come. When I went with my brother's dad to LA in October, my brother was really salty, and
Rachel, did you turn your mic off or something?
I also
Okay.
can't hear you.
Yeah, suddenly I can hear you.
Can you hear me? It's on.
No, it's on back here too. Let's see. Can you flick that switch again? Like up and down?
It did. Is it on now?
Okay.
In and out.
That's all right. Hang on, I'll come switch them. There.
Oh, this is falling out the bottom.
Now it worked.
Oh.
I got it. Her mic was falling out.
Thank you.
She's just playing with it the whole time because
She
we got
is.
her all nervous when we talked about lying. So
I'm such a
fucking
lie. I'm going to
studio
hell.
apart.
Burns up in the fucking sea.
What was I gonna say? And then I'm gonna
You're-
I'm gonna
going
edit
on
this
a
and
trip.
when I edit this, I'm gonna feel shameful because I'm gonna be like, I put her on blast in the pod.
I literally didn't. It's fine.
But it's okay.
It literally is okay.
So
You went to your brother was salty because you went to LA.
Oh, LA with him, but it's but you're 14. You're changing the whole trip.
Yes.
That's not. It's not personal. You're we're out drinking every
It's an
night.
adult trip.
It's an adult trip.
It's an adult trip.
There's if you were
that's
23, you'd be on the trip. This
Yeah.
is you know what I mean? This isn't that. This yeah. So I think it just depends on the context. I think if she, think of the old movie where the daughter really is into fixing cars, but the dad won't let her. That shit's
Yeah,
fucked
yeah,
up.
that's fucked up.
Yeah, but if
Right.
she's not into that, then it's not. Her coming just because she wants to be included, but she's not willing to get up on Sunday mornings like you and your son have been for the last
Right,
8
then-
weekends and go fishing, then fuck her.
Yeah. But make sure you write it down because she will hold it against you later in
It
life.
seems like the deeper issue is that dad and mom are not a united front. And this is exposing some issues in their marriage by what you brought up. Okay, last but not least, cheating stories. I was just his beard, and I found out in the worst way.
Oh, God, my worst nightmare.
What's a beard, Rachel?
A gay man or woman who's being with another gay man or woman.
No.
Or it's a straight person.
I thought it was a
person.
queer person using a straight partner to hide their gayness.
It is, or it can be two straight people or two gay people kind of like marrying each other to cover for the other one. But that's like
But that's consensual.
It is. That's consensual.
That's a great situation.
That is.
Like, you know, think if you guys were together in the 60s, a lesbian and a gay guy got married and just cheat on each other. That's great.
I know. A lavender marriage.
Okay. So I was just his beard, and I found out in the worst way.
He wasn't fucking you.
I don't even know where to start. My hands are shaking as I type this, and I'm not sure if I even want to post it, but I just need to get it out.
Isn't that funny that that Reddit is, even in theory, if it's not.
And why are you not sharing this shaking text to your best friend?
Like, why are you not on the phone?
You need a different outlet.
Literally.
You need a different outlet.
Anyway.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like the last few years of my life weren't even real. I, 32 female, have been married to my husband, Jake, 35 male, for 5 years, together for 7. We met at a bar, of all places. He wasn't even my type at first, but he was so charming, so easy to talk to. He made me laugh, made me feel safe. It wasn't a crazy love story or anything, but it felt real. He was my best friend, my partner, or at least I thought he was.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't even know how to explain the feeling I've had the past few months. Like something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. We still got along, still had date nights, still functioned like a normal couple. That lets me know that your relationship is ass if you're relying on date nights to say that you're a normal couple. Shady.
Just a normal couple. Just to say that. We're just a normal couple. I don't know.
But it was like he wasn't there anymore. Emotionally, physically, sex became rare, and when it did, it felt robotic? ? Like he was just going through the motions. I asked him about it a few times. He'd always brush it off. Just stress, babe. Work is killing me. I'm just getting older, you know? And I wanted to believe him. I did believe him until last Friday.
Dun, dun, dun.
He told me he was going out with some coworkers for drinks. I didn't think anything of it at first. Lies.
Nope.
But as the night went on, something just nagged me. That you weren't invited? Is that what nagged you? That you weren't invited?
Facts.
You seem like that kind of girl. He wasn't texting me like he usually did when he was out. No updates, no on my way home soon text, just radio silence.
Bitch.
And I don't know why, but for the first time in my entire marriage, I
Liar.
did something I had never done before. I opened the Find My iPhone app.
Girl, you had done that shit before. Get the fuck out of here.
Everything is the most dramatic reading of every situation.
Now, let's all say it. What race is this woman? 1,
White.
2. There we
Yes,
go.
yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know. I stared at the screen for a long time. He wasn't at a bar. He wasn't anywhere near the part of town he said he'd be in. His location showed a small hotel downtown. My heart started pounding. I wanted to be rational. Maybe he was at a work event at the hotel. Maybe someone got too drunk and he was helping them. But deep down, I knew. I just knew. I don't even remember driving there. I just remember standing in the lobby,
Holy shit.
feeling like I was
Somebody whose
outside of
hands are
my
shaking-
body.
For somebody whose hands are shaking, she's really like doing this well.
That bitch was doing talk to text for sure. I walked up to the front desk and God, I don't even know how I got the words out. I asked if my husband checked in. I showed her a picture. The woman behind the desk gave me this look, like she knew exactly what was going on.
No,
and then she just sighed and said, room 214. I swear, I almost threw up right there.
He wanted to get caught.
She almost threw up right there. Stay unseen.
Sorry.
I took the stairs because I couldn't stand the thought of being trapped in an elevator, alone with my thoughts. Every step felt heavier than the last.
Holy shit.
My whole body was screaming at me to turn around, to just leave and pretend I never saw that location. But I couldn't. When I got to the door, I knocked. Nothing. Then I heard movement, and then his voice. One moment. The door cracked open, just a sliver.
It's a
and
man.
there he was, shirtless, eyes wide, panicked. And that's when I pushed the door open. There he was, and there was Aaron.
Is this like an Agatha Christie novel? Jesus Christ. This is like erotica.
His best friend, the one he has always said was like a brother to him.
What did I say?
Shh.
Sorry.
The one he spent so much time with. Did you get yelled at as a kid for talking?
All the time.
Okay. The one he spent so much time with, the one who I suddenly realized had probably been in his life in a way I never even knew. Aaron was in bed, scrambling for the sheets, looking just as horrified as Jake did, and I froze. I wish I could say I screamed at him, that I threw things, that I was full-on crazy wife, but I didn't.
Nobody does that.
I just stood there, staring, feeling the entire foundation of my life collapse under me. Jake said my name like he was trying to explain, and I just laughed. Ha ha. No, because it was funny. It wasn't. It was the most painful thing I've ever felt in my life, but my body didn't know what to do. I laughed so hard I thought I was going to choke on it. I had spent some time thinking I was the problem, thinking I wasn't sexy enough, fun enough for him, and the whole time I was just his beard. I was his shield, his cover, his excuse to live a lie. When I finally stopped laughing, I looked him right in the eye and said, "You never loved me. You loved what I did for you." He didn't deny it. I turned around and walked past, ignoring his pathetic, "Wait, please," like I owed him anything. Now I'm sitting here in my apartment, surrounded by pictures of life that I never knew was real. I feel like I've lost everything, not just my husband, but the truth. Because what the hell was my marriage if not a complete and total lie? I don't know where to go from here. I don't even know who I am without him. I just know I can't be this woman anymore. End scene.
I hate this bitch with all my heart.
Yeah,
Hold on, did the gay guy write it or the woman?
It's one of the situations where he might have chosen to be gay just to not be with her.
Did she get high and write this for funsies?
She has. I think this is erotica. Like she wanted to get ran through by two men. This is what she thought up.
This is the perfect lady to marry a gay guy.
No, literally.
Look how
that's what I was
fucking
thinking. I was like,
dramatic she is. It's perfect.
You're the type of bitch that marries a gay man.
Oh, I love her. Erin, she's so dramatic. It's like living
Like,
with
of
Gloria
course,
Vanderbilt.
they probably met in fucking theater school. That's why she's so dramatic. That's why. He
Also,
loves her.
nobody who's been consistently cheating on you for years and getting away for it is dumb enough to have their location turned on for Find My iPhone, or is going to not text you and update you fake throughout the night as they're cheating if that's what they normally do.
Unless she's known sort of the whole time, like to where it's been
Yeah.
an open where like he's like she never checks, like she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Dummy.
Maybe he got cocky.
Dummy.
Oh, cocky, that's for sure.
Got that.
And on that note,
Moving on.
moving on. Bye. Thanks for joining our live.
Oh no, I gotta find your music again now since I
Oh.
maneuvered over.
Yeah,
That
you've
was
been
such a
doing
cute
too
Say
much
something else.
instrumentals. That's all
ASAP.
therapists.
ASAP. Therapy.
Kill your local therapist.
Therapy reprinted.
Fuck 10.